Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. I am your host, Coach Tripp, Paul Tripoli. I have a special guest today, Coach Woody McCorvey, Chief of Football Administration at Clemson University. Coach, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Wow, what a story you have, Coach. I want to start at the beginning. You're a native of Grove Hill, Alabama. Of course, you played quarterback at Alabama State, but did you play high school at Escambia County High School?
I played at Escambia County Training School. That was back before integration. And I played there. And as a matter of fact, my dad was principal there. Dad was the head football coach and principal in Grove Hill at Wilson Hall High School. And then he moved to Coffeyville, where he hired my head coach, George Mosby. And then they left Coffeyville in 1955 when we moved to Atmore. And that's where we stayed and until Dad and Mom passed away last year. That's where I grew up in Atmore.
Wow, I'm glad you talk a little bit about your mom and dad. I wanted you, because I believe the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So your dad was a coach. And gosh, tell me about that influence early on your life.
Well, Dad started out as a coach, and it's ironic. He never taught a class. He was a principal. But the first summer he was in Grove Hill, the principal got sick. And so the superintendent called Dad in and told him he wanted him to be the principal for a year and be the head football coach. And so at the end of the year, Dad decided he wanted to be a principal. So he went back and got his degree in administration. And that's where he hired my high school coach, Coach Mosby. And they stayed together all of that time until, each one of them retired and got out there at Atmore.
Wow. Holy cow. Talk about your high school days. Did you guys have a good team? And then we'll talk about playing quarterback at Alabama State.
We had very good high school teams. I was very fond of my high school coach, Coach Mosby, and then Coach Torrance was another coach there with us. He played at Alabama State. Coach Mosby was a Tennessee State guy, and they hooked up. They had some very good football teams. Another guy there named Jim Parker and Steve Jefferson. Steve went on, played quarterback at Alabama State he was a senior back in 1957. And Jim Parker was on that team also. But Jim Parker ended up coaching at the University of Florida with Coach Doug Dickey. He was on the staff down there. Wow. And Steve Jefferson went on. He won several state championships in Alabama as a high school basketball coach. And Coach Parker left. He was at University of Cincinnati, and he ended up at Alabama State as the head football coach.
Wow, Coach, you had some early influences on coaches and how you coach. I'm sure it shaped your life and your coaching career. You actually worked with 4 national championship coaches: Danny Ford, Phil Fulmer, Coach Gene Stallings, and of course your player, Dabo Sweeney. Right. Coach, talk a little bit about Danny Ford and Coach Stallings and some of those guys.
Well, I really appreciate Coach Ford giving me an opportunity to come here to Clemson back in 1983. Mm-hmm. I had never met Coach, but he was looking for someone, and he called Pat Dye, and I had gone down to Auburn for several springs, watching them in spring practice, and I was coaching at Alabama A&M, and he recommended me to Coach Ford, and Coach brought me up here, interviewed me, and offered me the job. And that was my first stint here. But the thing I like about him, he was tough. He was hard-nosed. Players really liked him. He did an exceptional job here. The football team in 1981 was the first national champion out of all the sports here at Clemson.
Right.
And, he really put this program on the map at that time, even though, there was a lot of good coaches here prior to him. With Coach Howard and Charlie Pell and guys like that. Hootie Ingram was here for a short period of time. But I really enjoyed working with him, and he gave me a good foundation on the FBS level.
Coach, I was flipping through the channels 4 or 5 years ago and saw the Bear Bryant Award, and when Dabo received that, he told the story about calling you first, and oh my gosh, just tears came to my eyes. It was really touching to see that. I guess he called and said he needed somebody to coach him. Wow, what did you think about in that phone call, and where were you coaching at the time?
Well, I was at Mississippi State at the time, and we had just been released. I was there part of Sylvester Croom's staff, and when Dabo was named the interim coach here, we were going through the season there, and then at night, a lot of times I was on the phone with him because he was navigating through some things. With being named the interim coach, and he knew he had an opportunity to be the head coach if he could finish the season out strong. So at the end of the year, when everything happened there with us, he wanted me to come over here and be a part of his staff. And I told him at the time I didn't know if I wanted to, to go on the field because I was going through some health issues. At that time. And he said, well, look, I got this other job. Why don't you come over here and take it? And then at the end of the year, I mean, if you don't like it, you want to go back on the field, I'll put you back on the field. Mm-hmm. So my wife and I, we made the decision that we were going to come back. And one of the best decisions that I made because, I had been on the field a long time, on a lot of really good programs, been around a lot of really good players, but now it gave me an opportunity to be in an administrative role and not just dealing with the players that I work with on a daily basis. Now I was involved with the whole football team, not the whole football team, but also the staff. And he gave me a lot of freedom to do what I'm doing here. I kind of put this whole thing together, my job description, as things came to me. And it's been very rewarding. And, I appreciate him for giving me that opportunity back at the end of 2008 when I came here to be a part of his staff and until now. And we've had a lot of success. And I have watched him grow into the type of head coach that he is. And he's done an excellent job. And I'm glad I was here to be a part of it.
Well, he really increased the staff. I think Coach Sweeney said, you can't run a racehorse with donkeys. Meaning you can't play with the Alabamas if you don't have the support staff and the analytics and everything. Talk a little bit about how he grew that part, making Clemson a powerhouse.
Well, he's very observant. The other thing about him, he's an optimist. I always called him the ultimate optimist because, when he got the job, a lot of people didn't think he was going to be successful.
Right.
But one thing that I know about him from having coached him in Alabama, when I went there, he was a walk-on. And, we got started out, we were 0-3 and things weren't going well. And I wanted somebody to just do the job at the receiver position. And so I gave him an opportunity, and he made the most of it. And not just for playing there, but he made the most of it, and he's made a career out of it. And the things that I saw and observed in him as a player, I see it in him now as a head coach. And, the same thing, the whole nation has seen it. People want to complain because, last year weren't the standards that we're accustomed to here at Clemson, but we finished strong.
Yep.
We finished strong. We finished very strong. Yep. And took a lot of momentum in the spring practice. We had a very young football team, and we're excited about getting them all back here in August when we start practice and to put them on the field and to have another good football team this year that's Clemson standard. And the Clemson standard is what Dabo has raised here.
Absolutely, Coach. I'm a former walk-on at Bama, and Coach was too. I'm really concerned about the possible reality of no more walk-ons in college football. I just can't fathom that. There's so many good walk-on stories. What was Dabo like? Was he? I know he likes to have fun, which is different, and I like to have fun too as well. I'm in a little bit different style than my coaches, Coach O'Leary and Coach Bryant. But Dabo likes to have fun. What was he like as a player, as a walk-on grinder?
He was a big time grinder. The other thing, whenever we had meetings, our position meetings, he would always sit in there. He's left-handed. He was taking those notes. Everything that I would say, I mean, he had it written down. Mm-hmm. Things that we watched on video and film, he was able to take it to the field because he knew from a talent standpoint, he might not have been as gifted as some of the other guys in the room. Mm-hmm. But when he went on the field, he wanted to show what he could do. And that's what he proved to me. And that's why he had an opportunity to do what he ended up doing there at Alabama. And then even after that, he decided he wanted to get into coaching. And Coach Stallings didn't have a spot. He put him in the weight room, and he worked his way out of the weight room until he could be a graduate assistant. And then when I was able to move to be the offensive coordinator and coaching quarterbacks, Coach told me he wanted to hire a young guy, and he said, I'm going to give Dabo an opportunity. And he wanted my opinion on it. And I felt very good about it. To have him in the room with me, being in the offensive coordinator role. And we gave him the opportunity to do that. And he's made the most of it.
Coach, you have eye for talent. I believe some coaches have a special sixth sense, intuition, whatever you call it. But have you noticed it in different coaches, how some coaches just have an eye for finding, measuring a guy's heart, but it's hard to do?
No doubt. When I came along, we didn't have access to video and everything like we do today. And the word was back then having an eye for talent. Yeah. And a lot of coaches back then, that's what they relied on. And even when I got in it, coaching ninth grade football there at Tate High School out in Gonzales. That's one thing that I always look for. You had some of those programs around there, the Cantonment Cowboys, the Brent Raiders, and all those. And, when those kids came out there and was trying out for the team, you had to have that. Floyd Adams and I coached the ninth grade team our first year there. Floyd had the defense and I had the offense. And that's what we were able to do and project those guys in positions and all that to be able to tell Coach Madison and the rest of the staff about them. And I was able to carry that with me my entire career as I went out and recruited and watched a lot of high school ball games and also be able to project a guy from playing one position that he might be playing in high school and be able to play another position in college.
Right.
That was very valuable for me to be able to do that.
Yeah, put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? Put them in the right position. That's huge in high school. But, the more, they know in the pros where you're going to be. In college, they shift around a lot, especially offensive linemen. But I know we're skipping around a little bit, but I want to go back to when you graduated Alabama State and got your first head coach or first assistant coaching job at Tate. You were there for, I guess, 5 years, 72 through 77. I coached there for 5 years, but you got to coach with the GOAT, Carl Madison. He was a lot like Coach O'Leary and Coach Bryant. Boy, he was no nonsense, hard work, believed in practices being harder than the games. Talk about Coach Madison and that philosophy, Coach.
I'll tell you what, I was really blessed to get started out under a guy like him. And I did not know him. A guy named John McDaniel was the dean out at Tate. And John was getting his master's along with Ralph Shadron. That was the head coach of the Scamia. They was driving up to Alabama State and working on their masters. And John recommended me to Coach Madison. I came down and interviewed with him. did not, I knew of him being from Atmore and all, but it was a great connection with me growing up there in Atmore and then being a part of the staff. He offered me the job. I came back, and Floyd Adams was a part of the staff, and Floyd was from Atmore. But that summer, Coach put us in the car. We drove out to the University of Houston, was able to visit with Coach Bill Yeoman out there on the staff, and Coach Willingham and Elmer Red and all those guys. And, you don't have that today. I mean, you take a coaching staff at the University of Houston, gave us time in July, and we went in and they taught us to split back veer offense. And we came back in and put it in there, Tate, and very fortunate to have Scotty Madison as our quarterback at that time, and a lot of other good players. But that set the foundation for my coaching career. And I had very good high school coaches. Coach Mosman, Coach Torrance, they went to Florida A&M every year to a clinic that Coach Gaither had. But just being around Coach Madison during that time, and he always gave me an opportunity and resources to go study other people, to go to national conventions and all. And that propelled my career. And I owe a lot to Coach Madison.
Wow. Learning from him. He encouraged you to learn from other coaches. And you're right, Coach. It doesn't happen much nowadays. I remember Coach Brian bringing in coaches all the time and going, he went to Texas to learn from Emory Bullard, who was coaching over there with Darryl Royal, learn the wishbone. They just don't help like they used to. One of my favorite coaches of all time, I played for him for years in college and in Tampa Bay, Sylvester Croom. Talk a little bit about, I know Adron Chambers from here, World Series champion, loves Coach Croom. I do too. Talk a little bit about Coach Croom.
He and I have been friends a long time. I was fortunate enough to be a part of his staff, but prior to that, when he was at Alabama, I got to know him. And then after that, he went down to Tampa Bay. But then when I went to the University of Tennessee, I had never coached running backs. I had coached every position on offense except the offensive line. And I was coaching running backs. And, he had a long career in the NFL as a running back coach.
Right.
And he and I, we got together and, exchanged some ideas. And I wanted to know his teaching progressions and all. And that's really when we really got close. And prior to him taking the Mississippi State job, I was there at Tennessee, and he turned the job down on the initial interview. And then Larry Templeton and Dr. Lee over there, the president, they went back to him talked to him again. And he called me up and he told me, he said, look, he said, I'm probably going to take it. He said, but I want you to go with me.
Wow.
So I told him I would. And so I went as the offensive coordinator. And it was really good to be a part of his staff because I've been a part of a lot of historical things, and but to be a part of his staff as the first black coach,
first black coach in the SEC,
and that was very rewarding to me to be a part of that, and for him to want me to be a part of that, and but the thing about it. We had some tough times. We won some big ball games.
Yeah.
We were able to beat Alabama 2 years in a row. We were able to beat Auburn and Alabama in the same year. And I have to say this: we left Mississippi State a lot better than we found it.
Absolutely, Coach.
And that's a big tribute and a contribution to what Coach Croom made as the head football coach of that program.
Absolutely, Coach. What strides to win the way you guys did, how you guys did it, everything was done right. Man, it was a beautiful thing. I love Coach Croom. Coach, I got a question for you. What's your favorite position to coach? Quarterbacks, wide receivers, or running backs?
I've enjoyed all of them, but naturally, with me playing quarterback in college and in high school, coaching quarterbacks at Alabama, Mississippi State. I also coached them at Alabama A&M, and I coached them at North Carolina Central too. And one of my quarterbacks at Alabama A&M, he had a phenomenal career there. Was Ananias Harris that played over at Escambia.
Right.
And it was an honor to be able to coach him while I was at Alabama A&M, and he had a very good career, and ended up signing the free agent contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Coach, who was one of your Coach Bryant's former players that you heard the most about Coach Bryant? Was it Sylvester Croom talked the most about Coach Bryant, or who always used his quotes or used his philosophy? Because I did. I've been coaching high school for about 15, 20 years, and I use a lot of Coach Bryant's stuff.
Two guys along with Sylvester. But number one was Bill Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
I coached with Bill 4 years here, and then we went to Tuscaloosa, and we was there for 6 years together. So all together, I was with Bill, who everybody refers to as brother.
Yep.
For 10 years. And then the other guy was Mal Moore. I worked with Mal when I got to Tuscaloosa. He was offensive coordinator up until 95, and when he got out and moved into an administrative role. But just hearing both of those guys talk about a lot of things that went on in practice, a lot of things that went on the sideline during ball games and in team meetings and all, but a lot of times just one-on-one conversations with both of them and Coach Bryant, maybe in a car on a recruiting trip and all. And Mal Moore was a great storyteller. and Bill Oliver was too. But, a lot of history went away with Coach Bryant when Mal passed away.
Yeah.
But both of those guys, they could tell you a lot of things verbatim.
Yep. Crimson Heart's a good book, Coach.
That's it.
The book Mal Moore wrote just before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
That has a lot of stories. I had him on my show. I think he had 10 or 11 national championship rings.
Yeah.
Coach.
I don't know of anybody in the country today. Maybe somebody, but I know Heather,
like Coach Moore.
His daughter. She donated all those things to the University of Alabama when Mal passed away.
Brother Oliver, man, what a DB coach. Coach, I missed him at Alabama by 1 year. He left in 79. I got there in 80. He came back, I think, right after I left. But, man, they told me stories. I would have loved to play for him. He talks about the goal line stand when Bama beat Penn State, but the play before when Don McNeil came out of nowhere to hit the running back at the 1 yard line.
Don McNeil out of Atmore, Alabama. I played with his brother.
Oh, my gosh.
His brother.
He's from Atmore? Don McNeil's from Atmore?
Don McNeil from Atmore.
Man, Brother Oliver called that the greatest play he ever saw.
Yep. He always told me. And Brother was been around a lot of good football teams and a lot of good players.
Yeah.
But he always gave Don that credit.
Wow. Coach, 2000, I can't remember. You guys beat Bama bad 44-16. He crushed us in the championship game, but the other one was 35-31. You guys threw a rub route, pick route there in a beautiful route at the goal line for Hunter. And I thought we should have gave it a banjo call. Let's combo these guys. Did you guys know they weren't going to switch?
Oh, yeah. That was decided on the sideline, and they felt like that was the perfect call, and it worked.
Yeah.
But that was a big play. A lot of big plays was made in that last drive.
Yeah.
But the one play that I tell Dabo all the time that was big for us in the game because we were behind. We lined up in the shotgun, and Deshaun Watson punted the ball, and it rolled down to about the 2 yard line. That changed the momentum of the ball game because Alabama had to punt back to us, and we got the short field, and we were able to take it in to score. And Renfro scored in that drive. But I thought that was a big play and kind of helped turn the momentum
Oh, field position. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant call. That's the kind of stuff Coach Bryant would do, just for position, field position. Oh my gosh, I was wondering if that came down, but yeah. All right. Well, Coach, do you have any advice for a young high school coach that maybe wants to go to college or be successful like you were?
Well, one thing I always knew, number one, I wanted to coach. Because I had good mentors and my dad and my high school coach, Coach Mosby. And I knew I wanted to do it. And then I started studying the game at an early age because I thought that was important. And the first football game that I played in, we played Washington High School over at the old stadium. And I was a wide receiver. And when the game was over, we was riding back. We lost. And when we was riding back to Atmore, my high school coach called me up to the front of the bus. And he said, when we go back to practice Monday, you'll be the quarterback. And he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at that time. But I had put in the work prior to playing the game. And but he saw that I had the leadership skills. He knew I had put in the work and studying the game and knew the game and all. And then after that, that changed my trajectory because I went on to college and I played. And I knew all along that I wanted to coach. I got into coaching, high school coaching, and I knew one day I wanted to get into college coaching. And so anytime I could go anywhere to study the game, to be around the right type of people. But the biggest thing, it all goes back to the kids. It all goes back to them because in order for you to make it and be successful in this career, you have to have a good relationship with the young man that you're working with. I've had opportunities to coach in the NFL, decided that I was not going to do that, and I wanted to stay on this level because I think when you're coaching high school football, and you're coaching college football, those guys they're trying to strive hard to reach that top level. Right. And I always like to see guys ascend. And, after a period of time in the NFL, they descend.
Right.
And that's who I want to spend my time and my career with. And I have to say, it's been a very good career. This is going into my 54 year.
Wow.
Here, and it's been very rewarding.
Was there a coach that believed in hard practices more than any other coach that you had, or is it a balance now? I know there's only so much time you can spend with high school and college kids during the week. It's not like it was years ago where we grounded and pounded it every time. But is there still coaches out there that make practices difficult?
No, I mean, they all have been demanding, and that's why they have had the success that they've had. My high school coach, Coach Madison, was very demanding and successful. And then, one of the guys I didn't mention was Ray Green, the guy that gave me my first job at North Carolina Central. And then I went with him to Alabama A&M, very demanding. Coach Madison, Danny Ford, Coach Stallings, Philip Fulmer.
You guys have pretty demanding coaches, Coach.
Sylvester Kroom, and then Nat Dabo. I mean, they're very demanding, and each one of them had their own way,
right,
to get the most out of the player. And but the other thing, they had to take that down through the staff to the player. And that's one thing that I've always liked and observed, the traits that each one of those guys have.
Yeah, that's some good stuff, Coach. Some great advice. You got to have a champion in your corner. There's no substitute for hard work. You got to keep learning from other mentors and people, and you got to be able to relate to the kids. I mean, those things are great advice, Coach. We appreciate you. How's your son Marlon and your grandkids doing?
Doing good. Just got back from Nashville, and my grandson Bo is 8, and he's playing that travel baseball. And so we were over there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And he ended up having to play 3 games on Sunday, but they came in second.
Oh, good.
But he had a very good tournament, and you don't have to ask Granddaddy about him because I'm gonna boast all I can. I mean, it's an enjoyment every time I get a chance to go and watch him play.
Yeah, grandkids are a pure joy. That's for sure. All right, Coach. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be on Coach's Corner today. It was a real joy to talk to you again and see you.
Paul, it's an enjoyment being on here, and especially back where I started my career, around the people there in Pensacola and South Alabama and Atmore. And thank you.
Hey, tell Dabo we're Bama boys. We're proud of him, man. Roll Tide and go Tigers.
Thank you. I sure will.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Wow, that was good stuff. Coach Woody McCorvey, Chief of Football Administration at Clemson. Great guy, great coach, great administrator, and, man, somebody everybody can learn from. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned for these important messages from these sponsors. Without them, this show would not be possible. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Step One works so hard to get you in the perfect car. Looking for a better car buying experience? With a Step One Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step One supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step One Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.
75 years of service in high-tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High-tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Barnes Heating and Air is a proud sponsor of Alabama football, serving the entire Pensacola community for over 50 years. Barnes Heating and Air is passionate about providing customers with world-class air conditioning and heating repairs, sales, and installation. Barnes Heating and Air is family-owned, insured, and committed to quality. For a free estimate, call 478-0141. Barnes Heating and Air is #1 in customer service with service calls 7 days a week. Call Barnes Heating and Air, 478-0141, and roll Tide.